In 1776, the United States was a narrow republic facing the Atlantic. Less than 80 years later, its recognized territory crossed the continent to the Pacific. That transformation was not one clean march west. It came through treaties, purchases, annexation, war, disputed borders, and the removal of peoples already living on the land. Representatives of 13 British colonies declared them free and independent states along the eastern seaboard. Their governments claimed land beyond the Appalachians, but those claims overlapped one another and crossed homelands controlled by indigenous nations. Independence itself did not settle the new country's western boundary. That came in 1783, when the Treaty of Paris ended the Revolutionary War. Britain recognized the United States from the Atlantic west to the Mississippi River and from the Great Lakes south toward Spanish Florida. On a diplomatic map, the country suddenly became much larger. On the ground, federal authority remained limited and contested. The states then ceded many of their competing western claims to the federal government. Congress organized the land north of the Ohio River through the Northwest Ordinance, creating a process by which territories could eventually become states. Survey lines, land sales, forts, migration, and conflict followed. But the map's new color still represented sovereignty claimed by the United States, not empty land, and not complete control. The next transformation began at the Mississippi. American farmers depended on the river and the port of New Orleans to reach world markets. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson's administration purchased Louisiana from France for $15 million. The transfer covered roughly 828,000 square miles and nearly doubled the area claimed by the United States. Yet the Purchase Treaty did not define every boundary precisely. Spain, Britain, France, and the United States interpreted parts of the region differently. The Lewis and Clark expedition, launched in 1804, explored routes to the Pacific and gathered geographic and diplomatic information. It did not acquire the Oregon country. Exploration, migration, and sovereignty were separate processes, even when later maps make them look inevitable. After the War of 1812, diplomats began clarifying the continent's unsettled borders. The Convention of 1818 extended the boundary with British North America along the 49th parallel from the Lake of the Woods to the Rocky Mountains. It also exchanged small areas created by earlier, awkward lines and established joint occupation of the Oregon country rather than dividing it. To the south, the Adams-Onís Treaty was signed in 1819 and took effect in 1821. Spain ceded Florida. The two countries drew a boundary from the Gulf of Mexico towards the Pacific, and the United States accepted that Texas remained Spanish territory. Spain also abandoned its claims in the Pacific Northwest. Texas broke from Mexico in 1836 and became an independent republic. It remained outside the United States for nearly a decade, and its claimed borders exceeded the territory it effectively governed. Another border question was settled before annexation. The Webster-Ashburton Treaty of 1842 resolved much of the main New Brunswick boundary and adjusted sections near the Great Lakes. With the northeastern boundary clarified, attention returned to Texas. Annexation divided American politics, especially because Texas permitted slavery and could alter the balance between free and slave states. The United States admitted Texas in 1845, but the shape shown on period maps requires caution. The Republic governed a core area, claimed a much larger western region, and asserted the Rio Grande as its southern boundary. Mexico recognized neither annexation nor that boundary, regarding the Nueces River farther north as the limit of Texas. The map must therefore separate governed territory, disputed borderland, and broader claims on paper. Those disputes remained unresolved as war approached. Beyond the Rockies, the Oregon country was claimed by both the United States and Britain. The 1818 agreement allowed citizens of both powers to live and trade there without deciding sovereignty. Over time, the fur trade, missions, and migration along the Oregon Trail increased the American presence south of the Columbia River. Expansionist slogans demanded the entire region, but neither government wanted a major war. The Oregon Treaty of 1846 followed the 49th parallel to the channel separating the mainland from Vancouver Island, then turned south through the strait. The agreement secured an internationally recognized United States Pacific shoreline and settled the dispute with Britain. It was a negotiated partition of a jointly claimed region, not a simple occupation of vacant territory. The unresolved Texas boundary helped trigger war in 1846, although American expansionism and the desire for California and New Mexico were also central. United States forces invaded northern Mexico, California, and eventually Mexico City. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo ended the war in 1848. Mexico recognized the Rio Grande boundary for Texas and transferred an enormous region that included present-day California, Nevada, Utah, most of Arizona and New Mexico, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming. The United States paid $15 million and assumed certain claims by its citizens. Mexico lost roughly half of its pre-war territory. In 1850, Texas surrendered much of its western claim to the federal government in exchange for debt relief. That settlement produced boundaries closer to those seen today. Mexican communities were incorporated into the United States, while treaty promises protecting property and civil rights were often undermined. One final adjustment completed the familiar southern outline. Under the Gadsden Treaty, negotiated in 1853 and finalized in 1854, the United States paid Mexico $10 million for 29,670 square miles south of the Gila River. The land offered a more practical route for a southern transcontinental railroad and resolved another boundary dispute. By 1854, the recognized outline of the contiguous United States had reached the Pacific. But the clean final map hides the human cost and the political crisis created by expansion. Indigenous nations faced forced removal, broken treaties, warfare, and accelerating settlement across their homelands. Mexican communities became minorities inside a new country. Repeated major Western acquisitions reopened the struggle over slavery, helping turn territorial expansion into a road toward the Civil War. The United States reached the Pacific through diplomacy, purchase, annexation, and conquest. But sovereignty on a map never meant the land was empty, peaceful, or fully controlled.